welcome to our next session here in the Parent Booster community. And today, David and I are going to talk about digital tools to help you run your program. And I say digital, and David and I were just talking about this because not all of them are apps on their phone. They're programs you can use on your desktop. Some of them are only desktop type of programs, but a lot of them kind of bridge the gap between both. And so we wanted to share some of the things that we use and ways to look at them as you use them so that you can plan and use them accordingly. David, if you're good, I'm going to kick off with some of the payment aspects.
Yeah, I think that's great. And we chose the topics today based on our Facebook group. So if you are not a member of the Facebook group for the Parent Booster community, we hope you'll jump in. But these are some topics that we tend to get asked the most. So yeah, jump in, TJ.
Perfect. So the first thing that we're going to talk about, as I mentioned, is we're going to talk about kind of payment options. So most of us are probably familiar with the ones that come to mind immediately, and big mind for us is collecting band fees. And I see this question has come up a number of times in our Facebook chat, and I want to encourage, and we're going to kind of take a look at how band fees, and the fees of these types of programs like PayPal or Zelle or Venmo or Stripe can impact the overall fees that come about. And one of the big topics that comes up is, well, do you eat those fees? Do you, do you charge them to the parents? How do you go about that? And so what we're going to do is we're going to kind of just present different scenarios. Not saying one's right, one's wrong, one's better than the other, but kind of show you the numbers and what you want to take a look at as you look about how you're assessing your fees and how you're collecting your fees. So we're already aware of these. Most of these have a very similar processing fee of about 2.9% plus 30 cents per transaction. So as we think about that and we think about our budget needs as our program, if we've got 100 students in our band and we have a $50,000 need, most of us are going to break that down into a very simple process of, we have a band fee of $500 because we have that 50,000. We're going to divide it between our 100, so we have $500 fee. Now, if we apply those processing fees that the PayPal or Zelle or Venmo may charge, what you have to look at is what each one of those are going to be. So on that $500, 2.9% is $14.50. Then you add the transaction fee of 30 cents. So by the time you actually get the full amount or get that payment from that student or that student's family, what you're actually receiving is $485.20. Now, when we apply that, if all 100, now again, some may not all pay that way. Some may pay by, the old checks that, that helps us out that way. But let's just assume these fees, okay? So when we say all 100 then pay by one of these digital processors, and we receive 100 payments, it comes out to $48,520, which is a difference of just about $1,500 less than what we actually need for our budget. Mm-hmm. So what are options to offset this? Now, some folks say, well, we just eat that. It's something that we account for, it's the cost of doing business, right? But let's look at a couple different options. So let's just look at adding $10 to band fees, just a flat $10 fee. That way we kind of assume some of the cost. So if we apply now that 2.9% processing fee, it's now $14.79 because obviously they're paying more. There's going to be a little bit more taken out. That 30 cents transaction fee is there, but what we're receiving is $494.91. So there's a little bit, we're seeing more that comes into our program that way, right? Now, the difference when we account for all 100, just by adding $10, is $500. Now we're working at a little bit less of a deficit towards that total budget need, which is great. Less that we're going to have to do maybe other fundraisers or something like that, right? So there's another option that we could look at. So we looked at just a flat $10. The other option that we could look at is a percentage. Okay, so let's take a look at adding 3% to the band fee. Well, 3% of a $500 band fee would make it $515. Okay, so again, if we're thinking about what we've got to take out, obviously that 2.9 is still going to be a little bit higher, so it comes in at $14.94. That 30 cent is still there, but the nice part is by adding $15, we're now only about 23 cents short of what we originally planned per student, right? So overall, that difference is now much, much less than what we started at if we just went with our $500 fee versus going up to 515. Okay. Again, much less that we have to try and make up in some other way. So as we look at all of these options, we have to look at how do we budget those fees. So again, do we eat the fees? We just charge the 500 and sit there and have to make up about what was it, about $1,400, $1,500 in fees and in some other fundraising way? Do we assume that that we're going to have a number of those folks out there and just say, okay, well, we're going to put it at a flat rate, right? And say, mark it up the $10 or the 3%, or do we go about adding the fees? Do we say, okay, if you're going to do this, we're adding, you need to add X, Y, or Z. And that's kind of part of the assuming the processing fees too. They're kind of similar there, but you have to be very careful. One of the things I would encourage is most of these processors do have a license agreement or your user agreement saying that those surcharges, you can't add them as this or add them, you can't, there's verbiage in there. You have to be very careful about how you go about adding those fees if you're saying that you're covering those fees or you're charging the parents for those fees. And one of the things that I had put together, and I will be happy to share in our Facebook group, is there's a little slideshow or a little Excel file that if you wanted to look at just your base fee that you need, the amount that you need to raise, the number of students, and how to spread it out, there'll be a little kind of calculator that I've put together there that we'll share here in Facebook as well for you to take a look at. One of the other questions, and David, as I finish this one up, I need to get my we're going to end that slideshow, which should take us back there. Good. All right. So screen share stuff there. One of the other things that we were talking about too that came up in terms of processors is with concession stands. Mm-hmm. And we can also think about this too. We look at some options like this as well for our state championships when we're selling t-shirts or other things. Is what do we use for point of sale systems? Fortunately, both PayPal and Square are probably the two that most people are familiar with. PayPal actually has a great system that I use personally for some of my side stuff that I do with woodworking that has a point of sale system called PayPal Zettle that is a great resource for point of sale. You can take all major credit cards as well as Apple Pay, Google Pay, and Samsung Pay. And it very reasonable fees, very competitive with the marketplace. Square is very similar. Mm-hmm. Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Discover, with point of sale software and point of sale hardware that you can use as well. And then another one that I found this past week when looking for concession stand focused options is a system called Zero Touch. And Zero Touch uses the PayPal platform, which is very nice in that sense because we know it's a trusted payment processor. But one of the things that they add, and Square does have a mobile ordering system, but Zero Touch also has a mobile ordering system. So thinking about concession stands at a football game, a lot of programs also operate the concession stands, or that's part of the fundraiser for the program is operating the concession stands at the football games. You can have mobile ordering. And there is a slight add-on in terms of the fees, but you can do mobile ordering via QR code. You can have different concession stands, and each concession stand will have its own QR code. So you can have an away stand with a QR code where the away parents could order, and it'll be order for pickup at that stand, as opposed to having to go to either, go all the way to the other stand, but they're separate QR codes so that those things don't get mixed up. And great things there. So I will also share a link to that one if anybody's interested in checking those out. But those three, I think, are probably the most, to me, seem to be the most easy to use and easy to get into systems. There are other concession stand point of sale systems, but they seem a little bit more cumbersome and more involved with like monthly subscription fees. All of these are free systems to use. You're just paying the processing fees. So it's
Yeah.
very similar to what we just talked about in terms of collecting band fees at the concession stand. Now you've got these processing fees for these orders, but all of them very, very reasonable.
I think that's what's great about all of those that you mentioned. I use Stripe a lot as well, and I used to have a merchant account and do a variety, but these platforms are way easier, and it really works well. I think because it's a use as you go kind of model and process, and so um, paying monthly fees for different things can be challenging because most of us only have these needs in certain months of the year with the booster club. So that's another advantage of some of these processes. And I'm just thinking about the concession stand element now with DoorDash and everybody else getting into that habit, and from the pandemic of having groceries delivered and a variety of things, society in general has become even less patient. And so I can only imagine that an upcharge on something you can order on your phone helps the organization know how many hamburgers we need to put down or how many more we need to get on the grill or how we manage that. But also that's just another way to get an upcharge, even if it's an extra buck on every order. I'm thinking, well, I can order that now and go pick it up by the time I get down there, and I don't have to stand in that line at halftime or whatever. Because you know, and what a better way to make money and charge a premium on those people who don't stay in the stands at halftime, right? So,
Well, so David, what I found though, there was at least one, maybe two different programs options out there that had like seat delivery.
oh, interesting. So literally DoorDash at the game. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
interesting.
I was
Okay.
like, whoa. But now, granted, I didn't touch on those because
Yeah.
those were some paid programs that were
Right.
very, very in depth in that sense. But I saw that and I was like, wow, okay.
Yeah, I see that as a possibility, but then I'm thinking, well, that means I have to have more volunteers signed up, and so I'd rather run a second concession stand. But um, we don't always get those options. So, though, I mean, the bottom line is for those folks who get concession stand rights, those are largely one of the largest revenue generators. And so, what I love about these ideas, TJ, thank you for sharing these, is that it helps us streamline that process and therefore making everything more profitable and making things. If we get customers through and we start thinking about the customer service element and everything paying, and I'm assuming most of that then means that folks that operate a concession stand that way are doing that on an iPad or some sort of um, delivery mechanism on that. It certainly could happen on phones too. Um, so those are some capital outlays. But what I really like about it is think more globally. Yeah, you may need to have 4 or 5 iPads to run concession stations, but those iPads can be used on so many other elements throughout the program for the different year to support a variety of things. So, because suddenly the Pops in the Park concert could be run same exact way if you have concessions for that or a variety of things. So I think that's a really cool way to open up a lot of possibilities.
Yeah. And for us, I mean, we think about the concession stand, but we also have our state championships that we host. So when we do
Right,
tickets or program sales or
right.
T-shirts, that's one piece. Our indoor show in the spring, same type of thing. All
And
so
I
many
love
different.
that because once you're running in that, people can also buy their ticket in advance. They'll get that for your marching competition. Then they can just get it scanned when they go in the gate. It's really easy nowadays to have someone just a volunteer with their iPhone scan it. It's a very easy process um, nowadays. And
Yeah,
I'm shocked. I'm really not seeing more like general football high school gate admission processes being updated into this world because it's so more efficient, and it makes all of the back end management so much easier because now generating your reports, everything that happens digitally, the apps will help generate the reports, and then that makes all the back end accounting from the volunteer standpoint much easier, I would assume. Yeah.
I will say our local schools are using the digital tickets now.
Good.
So that's
Yeah.
that's a positive. But yeah, there are so many areas that are not still. Yeah.
Yeah. 2018 or 19, we started our county-wide marching exhibition, started selling tickets that way. And it made the lines quicker. Everybody was able to take care of it when they wanted to, and we're not having to, that's one less stress point when you get there. You can just go in, find your spot. Yeah, it's cool.
Yep.
All right. So
Now, you had shared that you've got a couple that you use almost regularly, almost daily.
yeah, so for me, what I wanted to share on two different elements that I use with our Servant Leadership Association for Music, SLAM, the acronym, I'm the executive director for, as well as I used something similar. Now it's more updated as a high school band director elements. But to me, we've talked a lot about communication things in the past. And so for me, I want to share um, this thought out of the Strategic Booster Academy. We share the idea. I think that's coming up correctly. TJ, do you see that?
The science of storytelling. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So in the Strategic Booster Academy in the communication module, we talk about a lot of different elements of how to be effective in communication. And this is a really important element that we think about um, our customers, just like we were talking about in the concession stand. And the reality that TJ and I, before we came on tonight, we were talking about, can we just get someone to read an email, and how many times you have to follow up and whatnot. And so to me, what I love about this graphic and this element of the science of storytelling that was put out by a marketing firm called One Spot. Look at this. It says if the brain processes 100,500 digital words, and we consume that on an average day as a U.S. citizen, then we need to keep our communication short and have a great title that grabs readers' attention. That part I think we know, but I think as Booster Club folks, sometimes we think that our audience, they know what we're talking about, and we just throw out something like the concert next week or whatever. Well, again, but if we're thinking about engaging, because really, you as a Booster Club officer, you're the top 10%. You're going to read everything no matter what. You're trying to get the attention of the people that are not in that top 10%. So this, while they should know what it is, while they should want to read it, I think we really need to think about, well, we know that we need to have a grabby heading, but do we do it? Because we think they should know. I think we try to make exceptions, and we need to think, well, they just need to get it. Well, but the reality is they're not. And how's that working for you? Well, if it's not, then this storytelling is going to be a helpful thing to think about. The second part is, if 92% of consumers want brands to make ads feel like a story, then we as a Booster Club need to deliver content that is linear and expresses a clear narrative in that story. And the research shows that that's how our brain processes information at the highest functioning level. So that linear context. And so here's this last one's crazy. The brain processes 60 times faster when the brain processes images compared to words. Well, that makes sense when you think about, especially now in social media and everything that we're doing, that everything's on a phone most of the time or whatever. It's like, okay, so then we need to find the most concise ways to tell those stories in the most engaging way. So that means we need to show, not tell. We need to use images for more compelling content so that the image speaks 1,000 words, right? So that when you take the captivating title and you have an image with it, that sucks it in to go, oh, I want to read that, or I want to look at that. I need to figure out more about it. But the other part of it is, if we're writing 3 paragraphs, they're not going to read 3 paragraphs. So we need to write less, we need more succinct, and we need to make it more pithy and grabbing, and use visual elements to make our communication more effective. And so how we do that, to me, there's a lot of folks that know about Canva as a storytelling app, or I think of it as just as a tool, because I use it probably 98% on my desktop. But 98% of the communication that I use it for is delivered via a phone. And so what I like about it is that I don't have to be a great designer. Okay. I'm not a great designer. But there are thousands, literally like hundreds of thousands of templates. And you can select the theme. You can type in, I want it to be a concert in the park. So you can do concert in park, and boom, up comes a template. And you can type in a theme. You can say, we want to have a Halloween party. Well, then you've got Halloween, or you want to have a holiday concert. Okay. So here's the thing. You don't have to worry about copyright anymore. You don't have to worry about royalty stuff. Everything in Canva has it all integrated. So it's got the graphics, there's some audio, there's some variety of different things that the template pulls up for you, but then you can customize it. So I love this template. Like, this is one example right here. I could go in and change the colors of the background, change the borders, like in clicks of a second. Okay. And so what's cool about it is I can take this one slide and I can say, okay, I want to advertise this Pops in the Park. And here's this young lady on her flugelhorn, looks like to me. And so if I wanted to promote different people, and we're going to do a concert in the park, and we're going to have the drum line there, and we're going to have the color guard there, and we're going to have the different concert bands and the jazz bands and elementary school kids and the middle school bands. All right, well, I can create this basic foundation, and I just hit a duplicate button, and I can duplicate and hit 8 different duplicated pages, boom, 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 boom. Then I go take our pictures that we got from the last 2 weeks of different activities, pop them in, upload them. It takes about 10 seconds. And then what's cool, you notice like this young lady, that was a picture taken outside. But Canva has this really great button, one click. You don't have to know Photoshop, you don't have to know whatever. And it says delete background. One button, boom. Now she's there. I can move her around. I can put that cool background. Now, if you want to say, all right, I like this in the school colors, it's related to the band, whatever, we can have the band logo in on there. But now what I can do is just change out the kid, change out the image. Because remember, we're trying to show over the course of the next 2 weeks leading up to this Pops in the Park, all the different people that are going to be engaging. And who do you notice most? The kids you know, right? So if we take that, we can real easily, in about 10 minutes, create a template, find one that we like. We like the colors, change the colors to match our branding kit. There's the next part about it. We can pre-save, well, our school colors are this, and then for this project, we use these colors. These projects, we use this color, and we use the same font every time we say the name of Central High School Orchestra. We're going to use the same font so that we're creating that identity and branding. Okay. We'll let you set up all those colors. So you just, boom, when you go to click that background on this image, it already pops up your color palette right there, and you can just click it and select it. So my servant leadership, my slam, are purple and gold. So if I want to come in and use it, it's already saved. It's in the template design element. I click on the color of the back, click on the background, click on the color button. Boom, I got my 2 slam colors right there. I can change it in literally seconds. And so now within 10 minutes, I've created 6 to 8 of these graphic images with different kids' pictures on it. And now I can send that to the project chair for Pops in the Park, and they can upload it and send it out and put it on social media or put it on our social committee, and they can schedule it when they have their Sunday afternoon and they have time, they want to do their booster time. They've got the 8 graphics. They can go in and schedule when it's going to be delivered. How cool is that? Okay. So if we think about needing to deliver things digitally and things in print so that people can, for the people that need to see it in hand. And by the way, most of the Fortune 500 companies have gone back to what we'd call old school and have discovered with the saturation of email and everything else, now you're getting more direct mail marketing pieces that you have to actually look at and hold in your hand again. So if you're going to do a presentation to your booster club meeting, they can do presentations like PowerPoint. You can do all that in Canva. If you want to create the social media stuff we just talked about. And then the other part is that you can actually create video inside Canva and create 30-second, 60-second videos, 3 or 4 minute videos. All that can be done, and it's all linked. So once you create all those branding ideas, you get a chance to utilize that to save time. But you can also share within the platform. If I was working on this for us, I could share it with TJ. TJ could open it and go, well, I think we could do this and do that. He could change it, add it, and we're working collaboratively. We don't have to come to a meeting. Hello. And then we just get it done, right? So it really changes things in a huge way, and it's free. There's upgrade. I have the upgraded subscription, but there's plenty you can use for free for a long time. And so this helps us tell our story in so many different ways. But why I like it so much is once you get your branding for a particular event, whether it's your concert in the park or it's a your Friday night tailgate party event or whatever it is, you can update and change and edit really quickly, and it makes life so much easier. Okay, so that's Canva, and I should say that I'm not getting any kickback sales or whatever for Canva. I just, again, as TJ said, I use this in my nonprofit work almost every day. And then the other one that we use, there's several competitors to this, but MailChimp, when we talk about that storytelling graphic, MailChimp is an email system. It's now owned by Intuit. And so what it does is it allows us to create exactly what we've talked about, emails that can have graphics, that can be compelling, that can be easily manipulated. And so it's not just reading a text block. I can put an image on there and say, okay, this is how we want it to work, right? And so I was thinking I probably should just pull up one of my own of what I just did that went out here, if I can find it real quickly for you. And so one of our good friends, Tim Watsenheiser, is part of the Conn-Selmer Division of Education. And let's see if I can make this work correctly. I can just kind of show you what I'm thinking about. Okay, and so here's our newsletter. So we can advertise our sponsors through this graphically. We can come through, we can have some text. It's in different colors to highlight some stuff. Then we can use just basic easy graphic stuff. Everything can be linked here. Here's like a video that we've used, and you can watch and link it to a YouTube thing right away. So you've got kids telling a story. You can celebrate a win. You've got a booster officer wants to share something about the upcoming thing. It's just so easy to use, and it's appealing based on what we were talking about and how we want to deliver engaging email versus just more text to read. Now, I would say that on that one example, I kind of went against what we said, but part of that email I just pulled up was a weekly words from Tim. So it always starts with lots of words. But in a regular, here's the thing, in Canva, you can create, and in MailChimp, you can create newsletters. And so you can decide, okay, well, instead of sending out 4 emails throughout the week, what if you sent out the email through MailChimp on Wednesday night and Sunday night? Okay, well, you put the long-term things, 2 different things through a meme that you create or a graphic you create that's making a billboard because people look at words and absorb it instead of reading a paragraph. What if you could put it in a graphic that we designed in Canva, and then you've got that set up and you send it out on Sunday night? So it's got the 3 things they need to know for this week. It's got a couple of long range things, a couple of advertisements about the different fundraiser things coming up. And then come Wednesday night, you can either change out a few things, reorder it to what's next, or you can go back in Canva and take the same little graphic, but change the color and change the picture, boom, drag it back in. Really easy and time efficient. But here's the thing about MailChimp is it's not coming from a personal email. It's going to be delivered in that graphically appealing storytelling way. And you're not going to have limitations on it. Now, there's a monthly fee. I think TJ, you were saying for your booster club and how your wife uses it, it's only like $10 a month, right?
Yeah, I think it's like 10 to 12 bucks, somewhere in that dollar. Yeah.
Now it's all based on the number of contacts you have, and if you're running it as a business, like we pay more than that for our nonprofit, but we're actually marketing and advertising to a list of people trying to solicit membership. Well, that's not going to apply for you. So if you just go, oh, MailChimp, that costs a lot of money. Well, not for your necessary needs. So look at it how you can start at it on a very minimum plan to utilize that kind of support. So there's just some ideas for what kinds of tools could we use that literally save tons of time, makes it easy on volunteers. The learning curve, you you need to know a little bit of financial background, so your treasurer and those folks when you go to set up the apps, but it's really user friendly. You have to have your banking information, that kinds of stuff, but nowadays it's really even intuitive, and all those just kind of walk you through what to do. And so that's the other part of it, is getting people to serve and volunteer. We've got to find tools that don't require tons of figuring it out.
Yep.
And so MailChimp is that way too. MailChimp has just templates. You go, you want to sell us something, you want to tell them something, you want to do a story, whatever, just pick a template, plug and play. And it's all drop and drag. You don't have to know all the technical stuff. So I think that's the key. When we can find tools for our booster clubs that saves them time, that they can do their work efficiently with a low buy-in from the knowledge curve, I think that's the key. So thoughts, TJ?
Yeah, if my wife can tackle MailChimp, anybody can tackle MailChimp. So she was very reluctant to make that change, but there is a free platform based on how many you've got on your list and how many emails you anticipate sending.
Right.
But and Canva, as you and I were talking beforehand, I know our booster president uses it on a regular basis. My wife actually has started using it as well. And it's a great resource. It's a great asset to use. That the free platform is more than enough for most folks.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other part I like about it is because it's shareable with an organization. And the other thing I didn't say is that it lets you, like a lot of databasing things, you got projects, you can create folders and organize everything in it, and then invite people to your team. So, but it's also something that students are very savvied in. And again, it's another thing that parents can oversee on a project team, but kids could actually help you do it and create it too if you're a little bit timid in that, because that's blinking an eye to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is just scratching the surface of different tools that are out there, the different digital tools that are out there for all of us to use. And I'm sure that we will be probably addressing others as we continue to move forward. Communication obviously is a big one, and MailChimp is just one piece of that. I know last year Cecilia Clark shared her experience with the Band app. That is something that we've started using. So that's a great tool in terms of communication as well.
Yeah, if that's something you're also looking for, I love Band app because it's kind of the Google element. It has the cloud storage for things. It can do text messaging kind of processes. It lets us all find everything we need about something in the app instead of having to dig through your email. So Band app, that's something, if you go back, it's available in the archives through the parent booster community with Cecilia Clark on that. So we'll probably end up talking about that a little bit more in some different ways. And we'll be happy to see some testimonies from you in the Facebook group. How do you use the Band app, or how do you use MailChimp or Canva or some of these the point of purchase apps and that kind of thing. So we'll look forward to seeing how all that follows up.
Absolutely. Yeah. Please share if there's any other ones that you use as well. Please share those with us as well, because we would love to see other options that we may not be aware of.
So there you go. It's all about trying to empower your army of volunteers. We hope this information has been helpful, and we'll see you next month.
Take care.